In the middle of demanding that Joe Biden be cognitively tested, the failed former president, convicted felon, and civilly liable sexual assaulter Donald Trump got the name of his own doctor wrong, who gave him his cognitive test. The jokes write themselves, my friends. Donald Trump gave a completely ridiculous, glitchy, swollen speech in Detroit, Michigan for Turning Point Action. Reports are that most of the people there have no connection to Detroit at all. They were flown in by Turning Point USA, or some people know it as Toilet Paper USA. Here is Donald Trump defiantly demanding that Joe Biden be tested while referring to his own doctor, Ronnie Jackson, as Dr. Ronnie Johnson. He forgot the name of the guy who gave him his cognitive test, which supposedly proves how great his memory is, while demanding Biden be tested. You can't write anything better than this.
He doesn't even know what the word inflation means. I don't think if you gave him a quiz, I think he should take a cognitive test like I did. I took a cognitive test
Right.
and I aced it. Doc Ronnie Johnson.
Uh-oh.
Does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, congressman from Texas? He was the White House doctor. And he said I was the healthiest president he feels in history. So I liked him very much immediately. In fact, he said if I didn't eat junk food, I would live to 200. That's what he said. But I said, Ronnie, should I take a test? He said, well, you know, it's Walter Reed. It's sort of a public hospital. If you don't do well, they're going to find out about it.
So anyway, the doctor's name is Ronnie Jackson. You know, I was thinking, how reasonable is it to forget the name of your own doctor? How reasonable is it to forget the name of your own doctor who traveled with you on Air Force One every single trip? How reasonable is it to forget the name of your own doctor who gave you arguably the most publicized dementia test, maybe in the history of American politics, which you talk about weekly whenever you're given the opportunity? I remember the name of every single doctor I've had sequentially, even going back to my pediatrician in Argentina, just because my family has talked about the guy's name. And then I remember my doctor when I moved to the United States, Dr. Schwab, and so on and so forth. How on earth do you forget the name of the guy who was just your doctor a few years ago and who you were inextricably tied with in one of the biggest media stories of the end of your presidency, which is that you passed a dementia test supposedly with flying colors? And he goes, yeah, my doctor, Ronnie Johnson. But who's that? That is simply not the name of the guy. So you judge the irony as you will, demanding Biden be tested while forgetting the name of the doctor that gave him his cognitive test. But it didn't get any better as this speech continued in Detroit, Michigan. Trump glitching, twitching, and then white flagging and just pointing to Mike Pillow in the crowd. Something is wrong with this guy. He is unwell.
And in particular, and remember this. Oh, wait a minute. Mike Lindell, please stand up.
And in particular, remember that. No, Mike Lindell, please stand up. Not normal. Okay? Not normal. And then when he was able to get the words out, the rants made just as little sense as at any recent rally. Here is Trump with another totally deranged rant, this one about tanks and, I guess, electric batteries.
They want to make them now electric so that when you go into enemy territory and you obliterate the enemy and you knock down and those tanks are firing, you do it in a environmentally friendly way. The problem with the Army tanks, like cars and like trucks, the problem is that you would have to bring a battery pack along. You're going to pull it like a little wagon, like a...
It's almost like Trump doesn't realize internal combustion engine vehicles also have batteries. They're just smaller and are responsible for fewer things, but the batteries are there anyway.
Child pulls a wagon. So they want to build a Army tank, but the battery is very big and very heavy, much heavier than a thing called diesel, much heavier than diesel fuel. And you got to see this tank. It's like a wagon, and there's a big thing that is pulling in the back. And even with that, it doesn't go far, and lots of bad things happen, like it doesn't take cold weather very well, and it's really bad in heat.
Yeah. Of course, many advantages to electric tanks, as you can imagine, extraordinarily quiet and ability to have heat or air conditioning without running a loud motor, and so many different advantages. But anyway, so another deranged rant from Trump. And then Trump also said he would be taking questions. And then he just left. He didn't take any questions, which is becoming a theme. Trump holds press conferences and then just leaves without taking a single question like he did last week. And here is Trump announcing he will be taking questions. Then you'll see him shuffling off the stage alongside, I believe it's Charlie Kirk.
At the end of the speech, I'll be taking some questions. So this is different than Joe Biden. He doesn't take any questions.
All right. And there goes there goes Trump without taking a single question from the crowd. So the decline is clear and it is speeding up. And in the meantime, a desperate Trump campaign to show how much Black Americans love Trump staged an event at a, quote, black church. The only problem was just about everybody there was white. Oh, we're going to talk about that next. There was recently a huge data breach at T-Mobile. 37 million customers' personal data was exposed, and the data stays online forever and for anyone to access. And the number of data breaches in the US is increasing by about 80%. It is not getting any better. That's why it is so important to use a VPN anytime you connect to the internet, changes your IP address, makes you anonymous. The only VPN I trust is private internet access. The only major VPN that is demonstrated in legal cases, they do not possess your internet activity, and the software is open source for the world to verify. When a company like T-Mobile or Verizon gets hacked and you were using a VPN, your data still gets leaked, but it's associated with a fake IP address, essentially, not linkable to you. Private internet access is optimized for streaming and file sharing without the lag and buffering you get with other VPNs. And one of my favorite things about a VPN is being able to access streaming content not normally available in my country, like UK Netflix. Get private internet access for 83% off. That's just $203 a month plus 4 extra months for free. Go to piavpn.com/Pacman. The link is down below.